There's a strange kind of magic hidden inside old science fiction films. A magic that doesn't rely on CGI, billion-dollar budgets, or modern editing tricks. These movies were built on imagination alone. Bold ideas, experimental visuals, and themes that questioned humanity long before sci-fi became mainstream. What you're about to see isn't just a list of movies. It's a doorway into a forgotten era where filmmakers pushed boundaries without caring whether audiences were ready. Some of these films predicted the future with eerie accuracy. Some terrified governments. Some were banned. Some were misunderstood for decades. But each of them rewired the sci-fi genre forever. So today we're revisiting 10 films that didn't just entertain, they changed something. They touched on technology, identity, fear, power, and the unknown, all with a level of raw creativity we barely see now. Let's step inside this retro time machine. The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1969. The Man Who Fell to Earth is one of those films that feels less like a movie and more like a hypnotic dream. David Bowie's alien character arrives on Earth seeking water for his dying planet. But the real story is about how humanity corrupts purity. The film uses surreal visuals, jump-cut storytelling, and quiet emotional scenes to show how an outsider slowly becomes trapped in human greed, addiction, and loneliness. What makes this movie so fascinating is that it predicted themes we now see everywhere: alienation in modern society, fame destroying identity, and technology turning into obsession. Bowie was the perfect casting choice. His presence feels otherworldly without trying. Many scenes were improvised, adding to the strange, unpredictable energy of the film. At its core, it's not about aliens. It's about how even the most advanced beings can fall apart in a world built on temptation. It remains one of the most haunting sci-fi dramas ever filmed. Alphaville, 1965. Alphaville isn't a typical sci-fi film. It's a noir detective story fused with a dystopian future. Jean-Luc Godard created a world ruled by a supercomputer called Alpha 60, which controls people by banning emotion, poetry, and independent thought. What's wild is that Godard didn't use futuristic sets at all. He shot the entire film in real locations, proving that a city can feel alien simply through lighting, angles, and sound. The movie predicted a world where logic overrides humanity, basically foreshadowing AI-driven societies we now debate daily. Eddie Constantine's performance as secret agent Lemmy Caution adds grit to the film, moving through a city where everyone talks like emotionless machines. The villain, Alpha 60, delivers chilling monologues, recorded by someone who had undergone surgery that removed vocal cords, giving it a weird, mechanical voice. Alphaville is more like a philosophical puzzle disguised as sci-fi, cold, bold, and decades ahead of its time. Planet of the Vampires, 1965. Planet of the Vampires is a visual feast that influenced sci-fi horror for generations. The story follows astronauts who land on a mysterious planet, only to find themselves manipulated by invisible alien forces that reanimate the dead. The film is low budget, but the style is unforgettable. Dark fog, glowing costumes, intense colors, and eerie sound design. Ridley Scott openly admitted that scenes in Alien were inspired by this movie, especially the idea of a derelict alien spacecraft and a skeletal creature sitting in a giant chair. Both appear here first. The film explores fear, paranoia, and the fragility of human control in unknown worlds. Even without modern effects, it creates an atmosphere that feels suffocating and hypnotic. The sense of danger comes not from monsters, but from the mind itself being invaded. Planet of the Vampires remains one of the most influential cult classics, blending cosmic horror and psychological tension in a way few films dared at the time. If you're enjoying this deep dive into forgotten sci-fi gems, hit the like button. It tells me to keep uncovering more mind-bending classics. The Damned, 1963. The Damned is a chilling British sci-fi drama exploring government experiments, radiation, and children raised in isolation. The story begins like a simple thriller, but transforms into something deeply unsettling. A group of children, locked away in an underground bunker, have been genetically engineered to survive a nuclear apocalypse. Their coldness and innocence create a disturbing contrast. They don't understand the world, and the world fears them. The film uses themes of secrecy, moral responsibility, and the terrifying consequences of scientific ambition. Even though it was made in the early 60s, it predicted conversations about bioengineering and government control decades before they became mainstream. The soundtrack, the slow tension, and the emotional weight of the children discovering the truth make The Damned feel ahead of its time. It's a rare mix of horror, sci-fi, and tragedy. A story that asks whether humanity deserves to survive if survival requires losing everything that makes us human. The War Game, 1965. The War Game isn't just a movie. It's a simulated nightmare. Presented as a documentary-style film, it imagines what would happen if nuclear war hit Britain. The result was so realistic and terrifying that the BBC refused to air it for decades. The film shows the collapse of society in brutal detail. Fires, radiation sickness, food shortages, chaos, and psychological breakdown. No music, no dramatic effects, just raw, factual depictions of government failure and human suffering. Because it used real experts and authentic research, many scenes feel disturbingly plausible. The War Game predicted how unprepared the world truly was for nuclear fallout, and its influence can be seen in later films like Threads and The Day After. It won an Academy Award but remained banned for years because it challenged political comfort zones. This film is a reminder that sci-fi doesn't need aliens or robots to be terrifying. Sometimes the scariest threat is one we create ourselves. The Andromeda Strain, 1969. The Andromeda Strain is pure scientific suspense. Based on Michael Crichton's novel, it follows a group of scientists studying a deadly extraterrestrial microorganism brought back to Earth by a crashed satellite. What makes this film stand out is its grounded realism. No space monsters, just biology turned deadly. Every scene feels like a high-stakes lab experiment. The movie uses split screens, sterile set design, and color-coded environments to build tension without relying on action. It was one of the first films to explore biohazards, containment protocols, and technological failure on a global scale. Its predictive accuracy is shocking. Automated labs, computer-assisted diagnosis, and discussions about contamination that now feel uncomfortably familiar. The final act, involving a malfunctioning defense system, highlights the danger of trusting machines without human oversight. The Andromeda Strain is slow, methodical, and brilliantly unsettling, showing how the smallest organism can push humanity to the edge. X. The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, 1963. This film opens with the calm curiosity of a routine experiment, but it slowly mutates into something far more disturbing. Dr. Xavier creates a revolutionary eye drop formula that allows him to see through surfaces, skin, and eventually into dimensions no human was meant to witness. What begins as a scientific breakthrough feels almost like a superpower. He saves lives, exposes lies, and uncovers hidden layers of the world around him. But with each new level of vision, the gift twists into a terrifying burden. Colors warp into alien patterns, human faces lose their meaning, and everyday objects stretch into unrecognizable shapes. Ray Milland portrays Xavier's unraveling with haunting precision, capturing the fear of a man watching the world fall apart while no one else can see it. The practical effects may be modest by today's standards, yet they create a disorienting, dreamlike environment where sight itself becomes the enemy. The deeper Xavier peers into reality, the more fragile his sanity becomes. The infamous ending, abrupt, shocking, and still debated, drives home the film's central warning. Expanding human perception may come with a price no mind can survive. Seconds, 1966. Seconds is one of the most haunting explorations of identity ever brought to science fiction. The story follows a weary, dissatisfied middle-aged man who's promised the ultimate escape. He can stage his own death, undergo extreme reconstructive surgery, and step into an entirely new life with a new face, new name, and new purpose. At first, it feels like liberation, like he's finally been handed the second chance he always dreamed of. But slowly, the cracks begin to show. His new identity doesn't solve the emptiness inside him, and the corporation orchestrating these transformations reveals itself to be far more controlling, manipulative, and predatory than he imagined. The film dismantles the fantasy that reinvention is as simple as altering one's appearance. Beneath the polished exterior lies a chilling message about perfectionism, the pressure to conform, and the corporate machinery that treats human lives like replaceable parts. Rock Hudson delivers one of the most powerful performances of his career, capturing the character's growing confusion and despair. The unsettling camera work, distorted angles, tight close-ups, and dreamlike movements amplifies the psychological tension. The final twist exposes the horrifying fate awaiting those who resist the system. Seconds endures as a cult classic because it asks a terrifying question. Who are we when everything familiar is stripped away? The Creation of the Humanoids, 1962. Set in a bleak, post-nuclear future, this film imagines a fading humanity struggling to survive while a new form of life rises in its place. Radiation has drastically reduced human fertility, and society turns to highly advanced robots, the humanoids, to keep civilization functioning. These machines grow more sophisticated with each generation, developing emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and even a desire for peaceful coexistence. But instead of celebrating this evolution, many humans respond with fear, hostility, and paranoia, convinced they're being gradually replaced. Rather than relying on spectacle, the film unfolds through thoughtful, intense conversations about consciousness, personhood, and the blurry boundary between organic and artificial life. It boldly anticipates debates we have today about AI ethics, machine autonomy, and whether a non-human being can possess a soul. As the mystery deepens, the narrative reveals an unforgettable twist. The people most terrified of losing their humanity may already be more synthetic than they realize. Despite its tiny budget and minimal effects, the story presents one of the most visionary philosophical explorations in early science fiction. The Creation of the Humanoids stands as proof that bold ideas, not big visuals, create the most lasting impact in sci-fi history. These films came from a time when filmmakers didn't have technology to lean on, only imagination, curiosity, and the courage to ask dangerous questions. They pushed boundaries, predicted the future, and shaped the entire sci-fi genre in ways most people never realize. Even now, decades later, their ideas still feel fresh. Whether it's identity, technology, alien contact, or humanity's self-destruction, these movies dared to explore what others avoided. If you truly want to understand the roots of modern science fiction, these classics aren't optional. They're essential, and their influence still echoes today. If this journey through hidden sci-fi history fascinated you, make sure to subscribe for more stories that challenge reality, question humanity, and bend your imagination.